I'd like to call to order tonight's meeting of September 18th, regular public agenda. Mr. Jones, please call the roll.
Ms. Barbie?
Here.
Ms. Bauer?
Here.
Ms. Boroff?
Here.
Ms. Brody?
Here.
Ms. Sirianni?
Here.
Ms. Williams?
Present.
Ms. Winkler?
Here.
Dr. Kolkowski?
Here.
Mr. Murray?
Here. Quorum is present. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Executive session, we had updates personnel, HIB, and legal status. No additions to the agenda, and I'll move over to the superintendent's report. Dr. Mast.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. So last night's defeat stings because the issue that existed yesterday still exists today with no concrete solution. Our schools are still over capacity and class sizes are creeping up. Our schools still have critical needs, HVAC, electrical, and fire alarm updates that cannot be ignored. While those needs still exist, we heard through the election results last night and the community conversation in the weeks before, the vote that the community wants to create a different path, built together. That is exactly what we plan to do again. The volunteers on the Board of Education and I will need time to listen to the community's feedback from Tuesday's election and then consider feasible options. Please be patient with us as we undertake this process. While I am hopeful, challenges still lie ahead. We spent years looking at how to address current and projected enrollment growth. Even the alternate options that we looked into weren't ideal. Additions to the schools don't get us any more state aid, and we're limited by parking, environmental restrictions, and more. Modular units were pricey and not an option the community favored on the survey last year. The simple fact is that we need space, not just a few classrooms or a few modulars, but real space for SPF students. The outcome last night was disappointing, but I am confident that we can come together and still build SPF for the future. It's a future that our students, our parents, our teachers, our staff, and community can be excited about and hopefully agree upon. Thank you again for everyone who voted. We look forward to listening to your feedback in the coming months as we consider next steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mast. Business Administrator report, Mr. Jones.
Thank you. Just want to talk about Right at School. So Right at, you remember last year we did a full RFP and we brought in Right at School, and last year's opening was a little tough. This year took a different strategy, and happy to report it was a very strong opening of the school year for Right at School. We did a staggered opening, so we let the community know that they had to sign up by a certain date so we could get in. And we had a fairly large wait list for this year. The number of people that signed up for before aftercare increased by 27%, over 100 students. We're currently working through that list to be able to get everybody in that we can, and our expectation is that every one of those families who need before aftercare will be allowed. In some cases, we may need to get some licensing for additional space from the state to make sure we can use the space for before aftercare. And we are staffing up with more external employees and also using our internal employees to help us with that. And so we're actively in communication with all those families in the wait list and excited to get them in. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Board President announcement. New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of to attend the meetings of the public bodies in which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published to have the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Board of Education offices at 313 South Avenue, Fanwood. Such a notice is also provided in written notice form to Union County Hawk, Star Ledger, Township Clerk of Scotch Plains, the Borough Clerk of Fanwood, and the annual notice of regularly scheduled meetings as adopted April 25th, 2024, and revised August 27th, 2024. I don't see Mac here, so I don't think we have a student rep update. So I will now move over to the instructional updates, which I believe is the opening of schools presentation.
So, good evening once again. With what some have called the most positive opening in years behind us, I wanted to share some highlights of our preparation for the 2024-2025 school year. With this strong beginning, we anticipate that this will be an exceptional academic year for all of our students. We approach each new year with an Administrative Council summer retreat, an important event in our preparation. This gathering brought together our leadership team to not merely plan, but to envision the school year ahead from multiple perspectives. We engaged in comprehensive discussions on critical topics that shape our work and our priorities for the year. The Resolve Counseling Center provided invaluable insights into innovative approaches for supporting our students' mental health. Experts from Imagine, a center for coping with loss, guided us through strategies for assisting children in navigating loss. These sessions reinforced our commitment to nurturing both the intellectual and emotional well-being of our students. Our exploration of diversity and social justice through case studies challenged us to foster an increasingly inclusive environment. Discussions on the impact of social media on our students led to the development of strategies to guide them responsibly through the digital landscape. Dr. Hines and his team have successfully implemented strategies to increase student engagement and attention by thoughtfully reducing the overuse of cell phones during the school day. The most productive use of our one-to-one iPad infrastructure to benefit student learning was examined by the entire P-12 team. We also addressed the emerging role of artificial intelligence in education, analyzing survey results to inform our future direction. In recognition of the paramount importance of safety, we also devoted time to refining our threat assessment strategies, ensuring our schools remain secure and environments conducive to learning.
The cornerstone of our retreat was an enlightening session led by Alicia DiLorenzo. Her presentation, Unleashing a Culture of Aliveness, served as both an inspiration and a call to action, resonating profoundly with all in attendance. Ms. DiLorenzo challenged us to reconsider our approach to education in today's complex world. She emphasized the critical importance of human connection, authenticity, agency, and collective efficacy as driving forces behind organizational success. Ms. DiLorenzo provided a practical framework for enhancing engagement, productivity, and organizational attachment. This framework is not merely about improving efficiency, it's about cultivating a culture of vitality that promotes innovation, creativity, collaboration, and growth throughout our district. The session concluded with a palpable sense of energy and purpose and an invitation for her to be our keynote speaker on September 4th. We emerged equipped with actionable insights, prepared to invigorate our staff and students and amplify the core values of our educational community.
Our Creative Summer Workshop again provided the opportunity for students to explore new interests or further develop passions in a variety of meaningful mini-courses. This culminated in an open house where families got to experience these activities and to appreciate the evolving musicianship of our young instrumentalists. Summer is also a time devoted to curriculum development and preparing for the implementation of changes to standards, tweaking pacing guides, and developing new units of study. With the leadership of our supervisors, a large number of dedicated teachers collaborated all summer long to ensure a comprehensive yet flexible educational journey. We've updated our K-12 English language arts proficiencies, establishing new standards of excellence in literacy. Our elementary and middle school programs have undergone thoughtful revisions to better serve the evolving needs of our young learners. A highlight of our summer initiatives was the Arts Integration Leadership Institute. This unique program continues to foster innovative, interdisciplinary learning approaches where academic concepts are brought to life through artistic expression, enhancing student engagement and comprehension. Having engaged in a significant arts integration experience last year, a group of our fourth grade students that you can see in the picture in the lower right-hand corner took center stage at the Institute down in Princeton this summer, teaching educators from across the state about their work in connecting literature and the arts. I'm also pleased to report on the success of our SPF Boost program. As you know, this was funded by the state due to a competitive $230,000 grant program. The data tells a compelling story. Nearly half of the students enrolled in this program met or exceeded expectations on the NJSLA test, and moreover, over 83% of participants performed at or above the approached expectations level. Notably, our MAP assessments proved to be highly accurate predictors of NJSLA performance. This correlation validates our approach and provides valuable insights for future planning. It stands as a testament to the dedication of our educators and the resilience of our students, demonstrating that with appropriate support, every child can achieve success. As we prepared for the new academic year, we welcomed 72 new staff members to our educational community. This includes one administrator, bringing fresh perspectives, 39 teachers, ready to inspire, 30 support staff eager to contribute, and 2 coaches prepared to motivate. Each new colleague brings unique experiences and fresh ideas, invigorating our school community. Their enthusiasm is palpable, and we are confident that they will play a crucial role in realizing the vision of vitality and innovation developed during our summer retreat.
So it was a busy summer in terms of facilities work. We had some security camera expansion. I won't go too much detail, but just some areas for the football field to make sure we have full coverage for the increase in amount of people we have there. Fire alarm upgrades, that's still in process. Nettingham, a total revamp of the fire alarm at Nettingham. We did some work actually at Evergreen this summer as well as we tried to do the expansion. Technology upgrades, new wireless access points that we actually used a program called E-Rate to get a discount on. It's a federal program. In terms of maintenance, various work orders, new fire doors at Terrell, ceiling tiles in different hallways, some faculty room upgrades, concrete pavement repairs throughout the district. We try to do that. Last year we started doing that, and we're going to do that every summer now. Custodial, we switched over to a new vendor for some savings, so it's a new state contract that we're using. So excited to use those products. Grounds was challenging this summer. We had some serious staff turnover. We had 5 people, so 80% turnover. But we were able to mitigate. We've hired new people, and this year at Kohl's we had to hire a company to do Kohl's to get it ready for school, which they did, so it was great. And then we had the summer projects. Big one was you can see on the right-hand side there, the high school stairs. So these are just stairs. It's another way of egress, goes down to some electrical infrastructure, but it was a highly needed replacement. We did, in the middle there, we have started to install a new sound system for the football field, and for the lower field where some like the soccer games and field hockey are played. Right now, currently, is being installed in the middle there. You see the new bleachers in the gym, so they look pretty nice. And also on the left side, we replaced some of the alumni bricks and put them in the front of the school, so when you walk in, you can see them there on the left. And there's room for space for growth there as well. So, and then, of course, the big project we have, which was fairly massive for us, was turning the business office into additional classrooms at Evergreen. So we have 6 instructional spaces and 1 room for OT-PT and 1 for small group instruction. And it was challenging. We had vendors here all hours of the night after the summer board meeting, they were still there working. And I just want to say for this one, just say thank you to our Buildings and Grounds staff who chipped in as they could when was needed to make sure we got it done on time. Nick Krupe, our Director of Buildings and Grounds, was there every single day to make sure it got done for changes on the fly, things that were unexpected. But it adds a freshness and a newness to Evergreen. And walking through it yesterday, teachers are very happy with the new layout and excited for the new space.
Following these preparations, we inaugurated the academic year with a convocation that encapsulated the spirit of our district. The event featured stirring performances by our SPFHS marching band and varsity cheerleading squad. The rendition of our national anthem and alma mater by our talented students instilled a sense of unity and purpose among all attendees. We were privileged to hear from a diverse array of speakers, including our superintendent, our senior board student representative, Mark Bastable, our Board of Education president, PTA council president, and the mayor of Scotch Plains. Each speaker, along with our keynote speaker, Alicia DiLorenzo, contributed a unique perspective to our collective vision for the year ahead, reinforcing the notion that education is truly a community endeavor.
The culmination of our preparations was realized on the first day of school. As students entered our halls, there was a palpable sense of anticipation and potential. It was a day marked by promise and collective enthusiasm of students and teachers alike, as well as parents when they were reunited at the end of the day. You could see in the bottom right corner, that was at the dismissal for kindergarten, where mom and daughter are just rushing into each other's arms. And that happens on that day exponentially. And it really is just something that can fill your heart with joy.
So our SPFHS marching band has already distinguished itself this year. We're looking forward to their home show this Saturday night, right there on Tyson Field. Their performances have set a high standard for what promises to be an exceptional year in both academics and extracurricular activities. And that was several weeks ago now. The dedication and talent of these young musicians underscore the importance of arts education in developing well-rounded, confident students.
Our commitment to excellence extends beyond the classroom, as evidenced by the impressive start to our fall sports season. Our boys soccer team remains undefeated, while our girls volleyball team secured a bracket win at the Madison tournament. Our gymnastics team has begun the season with a perfect record, and our cross-country teams demonstrated great promise at the Cherokee Classic. From football to tennis, our student athletes embody the spirit of dedication and teamwork that defines our district. These early successes are not merely about winning competitions, they're about character development, fostering teamwork, and imparting valuable life lessons that will serve our students well beyond the time in our schools.
As we look towards the remainder of this school year, We are guided by a powerful theme, all to here belong. This is not merely a slogan, but a commitment to creating an environment where every student, regardless of background or ability, can find their place, discover their passion, and chart their path to success. This theme encapsulates the essence of our efforts, from our summer retreat discussions on diversity and inclusion to the expansion of our facilities and the warm welcome extended to our new staff members. It's about fostering a culture of vitality where everyone feels valued, empowered, and prepared to contribute their unique talents to our school community. We, our dedicated staff, enhanced facilities, innovative programs, and the unwavering support of our community. We are poised not just to navigate this school year, but to make it truly extraordinary. We stand ready to transform the inspiring ideas from our summer retreat into tangible realities that will benefit every student in our district. I extend my sincere gratitude for your continued support and leadership. Together, we are authoring a new chapter in our district's history, one characterized by inclusivity, innovation, and inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Does anybody have comments? Sure.
I just want to thank you for putting together the presentation. It's hard to believe that it's... Okay, is that better? Yes. It's hard to believe that it's only been 2 weeks of school, and all of that has happened, and I have even more details about the summer curriculum work when I give my report. There's a lot to report out on. And I also want to say how impressive it is that we've been able to attract 72 new staff members in our district at this time when that's a challenge for a lot of districts. So I think that really speaks very highly of our district, and I look forward to welcoming all of those new staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hariani. Anyone else? No? Okay. So we will move on to our first public comment, one of two. In accordance with Scotch Plains Family Public School Bylaw 0164 and 0165, the meeting will be open for 15 minutes for public comments, maximum 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers addressing superintendent items, business functions, and other board business will be heard first. If time remains, speakers may address other matters. Speakers, please state your name and the town in which you reside. Please note, boards use the public comment period as an opportunity to listen to citizen concerns, but not to debate the issues or enter into a question and answer session or a cross-examination between the public and individual members. Be aware that not all issues brought before the board meeting will be resolved that evening. Boards may respond to public comment by seeking additional information or delegating the authority to investigate the issue to the superintendent or her designee. So I will now open the first public comment section for 15 minutes. First, when you please state your full name and the town in which you reside once you come up to the mic.
Hello, good evening. My name is Melissa Lansigar. I reside in Scotch Plains. I'm here to discuss the busing injustices that I feel is happening. In that short presentation, I must have heard the word community at least 10 times, if not more. So I'm hoping that this is a tight-knit community enough to get the busing issues done. So if our children receive free public education, then they should also receive free transportation. We pay enough taxes in our town for the correct amount of funds to be allocated to providing the transportation our children require to arrive on time and safely to school each day. Parents should not be turned away for being 4/10 or 2/10 of a mile short to be transported to school. Busing should be free and available to anyone who requires it. Parents should not have to go crazy trying to find rides for their children or leave their children over an hour earlier at the school's doorstep because they have to drive their children themselves before heading to their jobs. Students should not have to sit in bad weather waiting for the school doors to open in the morning or wait over an hour after school to be picked up. It is not safe to leave the children unsupervised, especially with all the gun violence that has been occurring more often in recent years. Our children should not be forced to walk between 30 to 45 minutes carrying over 15-pound book bags to and from school on unsafe and busy streets to arrive at school or at home. This is a huge injustice to the students and the parents of the Scotch Plains family community, a community who prides itself as being a united and family-oriented district. Many parents have already reached out several times to the heads of busing, the business administrator, principals, vice principals, as well as the superintendent herself, to no avail. Parents have reached out to friends and family, anyone who can help them to get their child or children to school, again, to no avail. Our cries for help are not being dealt with and have fallen on deaf and uncaring ears. This needs to stop. Our children and our parents should not be subjected to this mistreatment. The stress and aggravation that this is causing is not healthy and it's not acceptable. We hope that our busing needs will be dealt with the utmost of haste before we need to start petitioning, picketing, and calling local newspapers. It would be a shame to see in the newspapers irate parents and students rallying against the Scotch Plains Fanwood School District over busing injustices instead of a nice heading that reads Scotch Plains Fanwood School District takes the win again against Westfield. Please give us the option for the free busing that we deserve. We thank you for your time and anticipated cooperation.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brad Herman. I reside in Scotch Plains. So I want to start by thanking Dr. Mast for her comments in the Union County Hawk back in May, where Dr. Mast acknowledged my concern about school events being scheduled during Passover and that there is a need for the district to do better. Unfortunately, here I am, barely 4 months later, once again having to voice my concern about school events occurring during a major Jewish holiday, this time during the days of Rosh Hashanah. My son's football team has 4 hours of practice scheduled in total, which are comprised of 2 hours on Thursday, October 3rd, and 2 hours on Friday, October 4th, which are both during Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are the high holy days in the Jewish calendar. There is a reason why schools are closed on these days. The high holy days are the widest observed holidays on the Jewish calendar and mark the period known as the Days of Awe. Now, my son, who has a lot to prove, as he is a freshman player, not an established varsity player, like other Jewish students possibly in this situation, has to choose whether or not to progress as a player or to adhere to his religious beliefs, observances, and traditions. We are in the year 2024 in a district that has significant Jewish population and that prides itself on diversity. What I am seeing on the calendar with 4 hours of football practice scheduled is troubling. I am highly in favor of sports and physical fitness. I work out like crazy. But at the same time, there is a time and a place for all of this. My son, as well as me and the rest of the family, will be in synagogue. Those 4 hours can easily be made up on the prior days leading to the holiday. My son and others shouldn't have to choose between their religion and their growth as players. I am sure that scheduled practices are occurring in other fall sports and activities besides football during Rosh Hashanah. In fact, I am aware of a few that are occurring. I know there are footnotes on the calendars about kids who have religious obligations being excused from practice. Unfortunately, such footnoted and even emailed statements like that back when the district kept schools open during Passover 2024 didn't truly prevent assessments, new work, assignments, and school events from occurring. Hence, I don't really believe that our kids' statuses on their sports team and other activities won't potentially be adversely impacted just because there is a statement that says that they are excused from practices if they are observing Rosh Hashanah. Even if there aren't adverse impacts, there still is peer pressure and self-imposed pressure to succeed that could be mitigated by at least not scheduling practices during a major Jewish holiday. If there are rightfully no winter sports practices scheduled on Christmas Day, there shouldn't be fall sports practices scheduled on Rosh Hashanah. A Jewish adult understands how to navigate a world that is increasingly hostile to Jewish religious practices. Children and adolescents do not and should not have to.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Colleen Gelinella. I live in Scotch Plains. Do you need the street address? No. Okay. I don't have a prepared comment. I did want to speak a little bit about Dr. Mast's comments at the beginning of the meeting and just really address how remarkable it was for you to be so gracious in the words that you put together in speaking about connecting with the community and the plans moving forward. I also just wanted to take a couple minutes, less than 3, to acknowledge the work that went into the communication around the referendum, and really say how much I admire what I see as increased efforts toward transparency, significant public outreach, and I value very much the time that goes into that, in addition to the other roles that Board of Education members and board administrators and school district administrators have at the same time. Things like preparing a public presentation about how much exciting things are happening in the school district. This took time. This took a lot of time, but it's part of a deliberate effort, and I see that, to communicate the great things happening in our schools and to make what is happening in our schools more and more accessible to the community. I'm thrilled to see public debate about what is happening in the schools, and I know all of you share that same spirit. It's exciting to me, especially given the fact that we've had unopposed board elections in the past, that people are now coming forward with new ideas and strategies for how to improve our schools. I think it's absolutely tremendous. And I hope that they continue to add value to the incredible work that's happening. I know that the board will continue their efforts to be transparent, and I know that has been Dr. Mast's style from her inception here. I would like to offer to be helpful wherever and whenever I can, and continue to thank you all for the job that you do for our children. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary Morris, Fanwood. Couple things. One thing in relation to even the busing, I still think it would be really advantageous to have some type of carpool website where parents can connect and carpool. I think it would make a tremendous difference in the traffic around our schools. And as she always says about the the drop-off, it would be great. Anything that could help that drop-off to be safer is a good thing. I wanted to just express something that maybe, again, in the future we could fix this, so you understand what can happen in something that seems like it's very innocent, but can really be traumatic for somebody. A friend from work told me he got the phone call while he was in a meeting, a robocall from the school. Now, he's changed the contact information for that number to be Scotch Plains Fanwood emergency, because that's the snow emergency phone, so that he knows what that is. When he gets it early in the morning, oh, it's the school closed. So he gets that call. You get Scotch Plains Fanwood emergency showing up on your phone in the middle of a meeting. He drops everything, goes out, and it's a robocall about the election. Is there some way to move something like that to a weekend instead of on a weekday while people are at work? It just is. That's kind of. It's not right. It's a very scary thing. With the atmosphere that we have in some places in our country, to get a call in the middle of the day on a nice sunny day, a call from your school. Lastly, I am still confused because I went to so many meetings, too many meetings, too much time, and it just seemed to switch back and forth on how you can vote. I thought if you voted no on the first one, you were locked out of the second question. That was specifically said in meetings, and that wasn't the case in reality. I don't know why. Was that a mistake at the voting booth? Was it a mistake, the person that communicated that? So I'd really like to know, what was it allowed to be? Were you allowed to vote no and then yes? Or were you only allowed to vote no? And that's basically it.
Thank you, Mr. Morris.
Henry Lubinsky, Fanwood. I'm one of the old farts that's selfish and doesn't like children and doesn't like tax increases, according to some of my community members online. I watched the presentation. It was really, someone talked about how great the communication was. The first time I really understood the implication of it was the first meeting I went to in Fanwood a couple weeks ago. I thought the presentation was not done in the most above-board way. The numbers were cooked in such a way to make one not look at the annualized costs. When the residents had questions, they were told to ask the individual members, a couple of which I found to be deliberately evasive, but the answers did not come to the community as a whole. If I'm in a council meeting, the council answers on a whole. I sat with some of my neighbors who were truly concerned about the implication. One woman was crying because if this went through, she was going to be forced to choose what she was going to eat, what she was buying her grandchildren for Christmas, or whether or not she was moving. That seemed to not move anybody. So, I came from an environment where cost containment was the rule of the day. And the rule was, this is what you have, do better with less. I remember my first CEO telling me, this is your budget. I don't care how you allocate it. My patients, my nurses, and my doctors better be happy. That was a very freeing moment for me because I was free to move and meet those goals. And the mantra has always been in organized healthcare, do better with less. I'm not seeing do better with less here. I'm seeing do more maybe with more, or do less with more. So you know what your dollars are to allocate when the year starts. We didn't know. We didn't know what we were going to get. We knew what we'd like to get in reimbursement, but it was always a flex. You can allocate that money as a board, and I think you need to have people in leadership that bring that stuff to you and you allocate it appropriately. I don't think there was forward thinking in this. I don't think it was communicated well at all. And I'll leave you with something I learned in business school. In talking with the people or any other person on the other side of the table, there are allies, adversaries, and enemies. You're not allied with the community, in my view. It might be adversarial, but that's okay. We come out of it the other side. Don't make an enemy of the community.
Thank you.
How are we on time, Adam? We are at 15 minutes. Okay, exactly.
Okay. So I'm going to close the first public comment. There's another public comment portion towards the end. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. Letters to the board. There was 4 emails received from the public by the board, and they were sent to the appropriate administrators. We're going to move over to committee reports. I believe, Ms. Siriani, you have?
I do. Mr. Murray,
Oh,
before we do that,
sure.
can Mr. Jones
Sure.
make a comment on the transportation?
Of course. Sorry. Go ahead.
No problem.
So I just want to address the transportation. I suggest anyone go to our website and look at the budget presentation just to see the massive increase in costs in transportation over the past 3 years. It's up over 150%. And as you know, our state aid has been up over the past 5 or 6 years, and 100% of that state aid increase has gone towards transportation. And this is due to a national shortage of bus drivers. If we wanted to provide busing for everyone, it would be an increase. This is back of the envelope sort of numbers, but you know, 6.4 million to increase that. So we have a tax levy of 100 million. So that's a 6.4% of our budget would have to go towards the new transportation. And that, in terms of a tax increase, would, you know, around $550 a year for an average taxpayer. So, you know, if you're more than that, then it'd be a pretty massive increase in cost to expand busing. And on top of that, because we don't have space or land, we wouldn't be able to buy our own buses or hire our own drivers because we don't have a place to bus them or repair them. And so we would have to outsource them. And so the rule of that is that you absolutely have to take the lowest bidder regardless of service. And as most people know in the district, the problems that we have with busing are with our outsourced busing that we have through Durham. We don't, and there's a lot of problems with that, and they've been with us for a long time, and we have relationships with them. Going to expand busing, you'd have to potentially get a new vendor, and so you don't know what you'll get with that. I can just give one story in terms of a district in Howell. They put their busing out to bid to try to save costs last year, and the new vendor did make it. But there was massive problems this year with their busing. Students late, of course, missing stops, going around in circles, not knowing where they were going. One incident of a driver pulling into a parking lot and having 2 students on the bus still, and they didn't know where to go, and so they just parked there until a parent found tracked the student's phone to the location. So it is it's unfortunate that the costs have gone up so much, and also today, actually, Governor Murphy vetoed a bill that would have helped us with busing, citing that he thought that it would compromise safety. So I know associations of business administrators in the state, it's their number one concern that they brought to the state is that they want legislation passed that makes it easier to transport students, in addition to funding for busing because of the massive increase in costs. And that you've seen across the state that districts are cutting busing for locations where it's not required. So it's a big problem, and it's something we've been talking about for the past 2 years, and hoping and brought forth many bills. And I've personally provided feedback to the state on some of those bills to be read in Trenton, and so we're constantly focused on it. And it's always a difficult problem, but one that I understand that's extremely difficult, and is absolutely the hardest part of my job. Is busing and talking to parents who don't have busing, and it's some of the stories they have are pretty gut-wrenching. So it's something that we're constantly trying to work on and improve and make it efficient. So that's it. Yeah.
Mr. Jones, was the bill that got vetoed the one to reduce the requirements for drivers as far as, because I think it was stated that in order to get a license to drive a bus, you have to be able to repair a bus? Was it that portion of the?
That never even got to.
That's part of the requirement.
That never got to the governor. Yeah, that never got.
But that was one of the.
That was one of the ones that we tried to, my association tried to get through. That didn't even get to the governor, it got to the assembly, but never made it to him. The one that just passed was like allowing staff members to take students to sporting events. So if a staff member wanted to get a certain type of license, and they had an 8-passenger van, they could be able to drive. Let's say you had like fencing team, small number of students that the coach would be able to then drive them, and he vetoed that. So it doesn't make it. Any type of small membership events. But yeah, that's what he vetoed.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. So the curriculum committee met on September 10th, and our meeting was very lengthy because our September meeting is always to discuss the summer curriculum work plus any other agenda items. So every content supervisor does come to this meeting to update the committee on what was done over the summer. My report is 6 pages, so I highlighted the most important pieces. If anyone does want a full copy, they can email me. The board did receive a full copy of the committee report. But I will give the highlights. So in terms of English language arts, summer curriculum work, there was collaboration with all teachers across grade levels from K to 5 to review reading and writing workshop curricula and align with newly revised ELA standards. And again, there was some work in grade K and 1 on the foundations curriculum, and again, I'm going to summarize. So in English language arts, grades 6 through 12, as part of the cyclical review cycle, they reviewed existing units, and this is neat. They added new units, including celebrating diversity through graphic novels in order to engage kids in English language arts, a unit called Bias, Justice, and Power, and a unit called Overcoming Obstacles. They also created benchmark assessments attached to those units to replace MAP assessment in those areas. Skipping down, another highlight is work done in 12th grade English language arts, where they created mini courses comprised of college portfolio, narrative nonfiction, and dystopian literature. And these mini courses were developed based on feedback from previous students, so that's exciting. English language art work in middle school. Some of those highlights are work done on new elective courses, one being The Magic of Movies, in which teachers across grade levels created that curriculum where students would be able to become movie critics, look into the history of movies, and develop their own movie pitch, thereby practicing their writing. In terms of science and engineering curriculum work and social studies curriculum work, we actually had a visit from one of our junior students who discussed a plan for hosting a science competition at the high school, but for students enrolled in grades 6 through 12 called the Lab Room. And this competition would be held in the format of Shark Tank, in which students could work in small teams, choose a scientific problem to solve, go before a panel of judges, do the research, and propose a solution to the problem. So that's a really exciting and innovative idea that was developed by one of our high school students. So we look forward to seeing how that unfolds during the course of the year. Another project, Ms. DiNicola and Ms. Belusu discussed their ongoing work in the DETECT research project, which has been ongoing. The focus of the research is on epistemic practices, highlighting modeling, collecting data, analyzing data, and communicating the data. Teachers attend professional development in the summer that help them develop strategies for supporting students in thinking like scientists and making metacognitive connections. So that's an interesting ongoing research project that a couple of our teachers are engaged in. In terms of middle school science, in grades 6 through 8, teachers met to review the units of study from Open Sci Ed curriculum, elementary science and social studies. We had a very comprehensive overview of how science and social studies are working together at each grade level to create interdisciplinary units. So each grade has different interdisciplinary units that were presented. So for example, in kindergarten, in first grade, there's an interdisciplinary unit called Engineering Toy Design, where first graders are taught economic concepts from social studies, but then also pulling in like air and weather units from science. And they're given a budget and have to buy materials and design a toy that moves with air and with the weather conditions. So that's an example of like the interdisciplinary methods that are being taught at each grade level. In second grade, it involves decreasing population of monarch butterflies, but then looking at how this population is important, in a social context. In third grade, providing students with an opportunity to learn about inventors and innovators from diverse backgrounds. Fourth grade, studying habitats and survival, but using social studies concepts from geography and physics. Okay. The media specialists discuss their summer work. Heritage months and holidays. Over the summer, a focus group of students and teachers provided feedback regarding the ways they experience heritage months and holidays in our schools. They developed materials to support elementary teachers in discussing these important events, provided support for read-alouds and morning meeting conversations, and helped to create materials to inform both teachers and students about the diverse community we live in. I'm going to come back to the board approval items. In mathematics, the mathematics department reviewed and revised pacing guides for K-5 math. And Some innovative math work that was done in grade 2 was exploring small group structures for differentiating math using rotating stations. In 6 to 12 math, talked about the department examining our courses and developing quarterly assessments. This year, the math department will be giving quarterly assessments to every student in grades 6 through 12, just to support and improve student learning. The special education department did summer work as well, examining the scope and sequence of the reading curriculum and creating an assessment guide for English language, arts, and math. Self-contained special ed staff worked on the planning of community-based instruction outings and life skill opportunities for special education students within the district as well as in the town and local community. And self-contained teachers also continue to modify and supplement the general ed curriculum to meet the needs of their diverse learners. Okay. In fine arts, some of those teachers were busy actually in the summer courses teaching music and art to our students this summer, and investigating a music technology curriculum as well. In world language, curriculum updates were made to the following high school courses: Spanish 3, Academic and Accelerated, Spanish 5, Academic and Accelerated, French 1, French 3, Academic and Accelerated, Italian 4, Academic and Accelerated, and Italian 1. Okay, and then going back to, there are 2 items for board approval on the agenda tonight. One is the adoption of an AP African American Studies book. As you remember, there was not a text that had been recommended for this course, so some research was done looking at what other districts were using, what would be the best text, and Freedom on My Mind was selected and is being recommended. There have only been, again, 4 texts that have been recommended by the College Board to support the AP African American Studies curriculum. So the board is being asked to approve Freedom on My Mind as being the most comprehensive and accessible text, and is requesting 25 copies of the text at $114.98 each. And that is on the agenda for tonight. The other thing on the agenda for board approval tonight is the program of study. The board should have received a copy of the entire program of study. Dr. McGarry summarized for the curriculum committee the changes to the guides, which included new middle school courses, some language changes in English language arts sections that align with the revised New Jersey student learning standards, and a change to Spanish instruction in grades 2 and 3 due to staffing difficulties in our world language department. The revised documents were shared with the board, and we're being asked to approve that program of study. And that is my very lengthy report, only a piece of it, and the curriculum committee meets again on October 8th.
Thank you, Ms. Sirianni. Any questions for anybody? Any other committee reports? Okay, seeing none. We received the enrollment report. Pass over now to Dr. Mast for her motions.
So first, out-of-district placements. Second, we do not have HIBs to weigh in on. 3, field trip requests. Again, none listed here at this time. And 4, the program of studies that was just mentioned. Moving on, we also have the proficiencies that we just discussed. And 6, the textbook adoption that was just discussed.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Winkler, do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Boroff, the Amy's? Any comments or questions? Mr. Jones, can you please call the roll since we have curriculum and books?
Ms. Barve?
Yes.
Ms. Bauer?
Yes.
Mrs. Boroff?
Yes.
Ms. Brody?
Yes.
Ms. Sirianni?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Winkler?
Yes.
Dr. Kolkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes. Motion carries. Dr. Mast, personnel?
I move that the Board of Education approves the superintendent's recommendation for the personnel report that we discussed this evening in exec.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Kulkowski, do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Williams, any comments or questions? Mr. Jones, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Barve?
Yes.
Ms. Bauer?
Yes.
Mrs. Boroff?
Yes.
Ms. Brody?
Yes.
Ms. Siriani?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Winkler?
Yes.
Dr. Kolakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes. Motion carries. Now over to you, Mr. Jones, for board business functions.
I just want to mention on the enrollment report, we're up over 50 students from this point last year, and up 5 from June, and we expect more as the new developments continue to open, the one by Terrell. Okay, for number 1, staff training. 2, related services, special ed. 3 is a parental contract for student transportation. 4 is for Evergreen. So for Evergreen, just as a reminder, we are next summer going to be replacing some of the windows. We couldn't do it this summer. And that's number 4. Number 5 is just approving our use of Educational Service Commission. Every 5 years we have to do that. Number 6, non-public standard amounts we have to approve that we are required to manage these funds, but we use, to manage these, this is for Union Catholic, but we use the Union County ESC to manage this and pay them a fee. Number 7 is to create for $200,000 for HVAC repair. We had something go down at one of our schools this year, and this is just to have an open purchase order in case, to make repairs quicker. Again, this is through a co-op, and it's something, the Monmouth County Co-op that we approved last month, it's a new one we're using, and it all has been publicly bid, and they won the bid as the lowest bidder in Monmouth County. Number 8, security drills. 9, financial reports. 10, disbursements, and 11 is paying bills.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Do we have a motion? Ms. Brody, do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Williams, any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will now move next to board policies. There are none. New board business. Other board business, liaison reports. Do we have any liaison reports?
I have one. The Special Education Parent Advisory Group, CPAG, met on Monday evening to kick off the first of their meetings. Similar to tonight, Dr. Rabimbis provided the group with an update sort of on new accomplishments over the summer, some changes with case managers, some additions of staff, and some restructuring. It's all available on the website. Any parents that are looking for information specifically on their cases, all of the letters have been sent out. And then we got an update on CPAC on some of the things that they're doing this year. They recently just sent out a survey so that they can get some on the extended school year programs. They wanted to get some information and collect parental feedback on how the programs went. So each school, this is really important, each school has a liaison, which provided we have enough volunteers. So if you are involved or interested in getting involved, please reach out to CPAG, which you can find via the SPF website under Special Services. They do need some more liaisons. One of the things that they reported back on that they worked on this summer is actually collaborating with Dr. Damaris at Nettingham, but to bring together all of the principals at the various schools across the district so they can collaborate on some of the projects that they've done internally. And so CPAG is going to help put that together. What else? Good news, the life skills room in the high school is complete, and everybody is very excited about that. And just to remind everyone, the next meeting, actually September and March are just caregiver meetings, FYI, if you're interested in going. And the next meeting is Monday, October 7th at TMS Middle School in the media room at 7 p.m. And that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Boroff. Any comments, questions? Any other liaison reports?
I have a
report from Garden State Coalition of Schools. We met today, it's a statewide group. Garden State Coalition of Schools gives us the opportunity to advocate as a district along with other districts across the state and help amend bills and try to make an impact in Trenton. Today we had a guest speaker, Maureen Brogan, who is the program director for the statewide Traumatic Loss Coalition, and she talked about the kinds of services that they provide to districts when there are traumatic losses, and it was a very good program. We also received updates on things that are happening in Trenton, including modifications, improvements to the New Jersey Educator Evaluation System, and also looking at requirements for teachers, and for example, for new hires and teachers related to residency in New Jersey and the staffing shortages. There are bills coming up related to consolidation. There are new members on the State Board of Education, and there were some bills signed related to literacy, and also conversations around the evaluations of school districts, CUSAC, and so we had updates on all those things. And I'll mention as an aside, we had the most board members present today of anyone at the meeting. And so if anyone else wants to comment, welcome to. It was a good meeting. Maybe you can join us next month. The meeting next month is when it is at the state conference, at the Board of Ed conference.
Thank
And
you,
there'll
Ms.
be a panel of legislators.
Thank you, Ms. Bauer. Any other liaison reports? Workshop reports? Okay, resolutions, so we have 4. We have the Week of Respect, October 7th through the 11th. We have School Violence Awareness Week, October 21 to 25. We have National Principals Month, as well as Teachers, Administrators, and Support Staff resolutions. Do we have a motion to approve these 4 resolutions? Ms. Winkler? Second, Ms. Brody. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Board minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the August 27th regular public meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second, the Amy's. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, second and final public comment section. In accordance with Scotch Plains Family Public Bylaws 0164 and 0165, the meeting will be open for 15 minutes for public comment, maximum 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers addressing superintendent items, business functions, and other board business will be heard first. If time remains, speakers may address other matters. Speakers, please state your full name and the town in which you reside. Please note, board use public comment period as an opportunity to listen to citizen concern, but not to debate issues or enter into a question and answer session or cross-examination between the public and individual members. Be aware not all issues brought before the board meeting will be resolved that evening. Boards may respond to public comment by seeking additional information or by delegating the authority to investigate the issues to the superintendent or her designee. With that, I will now open the second and final public comment section. Please state your full name and the town in which you reside.
Hi, I'm Mark Alvito, and I live in Fanwood. A little background on myself. I grew up in this town. My 2 sisters and me, from 1975 to 1992, went to Scotch Plains Fanwood High School. I left Scotch Plains Fanwood for about 2 decades, and I lived in 4 different states, and in 2014, I had the opportunity to come back. And there was one town that I wanted to come back to, and that was Fanwood. My daughter has Down syndrome, so special education was critical for us. And ironically, my son breezes through AP everything, so there's a little bit of a dichotomy there in my class, or in my household. I hear the word diversity a lot. I want to address that, maybe give you some things to think about for the board as it relates to the referendum. Dr. Mast, I really do appreciate your comments. There is no additional space today. The referendum got voted down, the money's gone, and now my question for everybody is, What are we going to do differently now that the vote is down? Do we get a different result? And I keep coming back to the word diversity. When I was on the public forums, there was a couple of things that went through my mind. I kind of saw that Brady Bunch tile of all the people on the call, and they were really all people that were tied to the board in some way, either consultants, principals, obviously, I believe some board members were on it. They were heavily invested in one outcome, which is to get the referendum passed. I bleed this town. I love the school system. I also voted no. I believe there could be some people in the room that also voted no. They equally love our kids and they love our school system. When it comes to diversity and what I'm thinking of, one of the things I'd encourage everyone to do, if you haven't already, there's a private Facebook group, the Scotch Plains Board Referendum Private Group. There's some extraordinary talented people on that group, all walks of life, construction experience, business experience, finance experience. And it's the internet, so it's a bloodbath there in terms of arguing, and a lot of it's unproductive. But it's hard not to see the value that people bring to this discussion. I think there are two groups in this discussion. There's people that will take whatever is proposed as fact, and then there's the people that are kind of from the show me state, and I'm one of those. You can't tell me that the budget for a new school is going to be $8 million, and then on the other hand say, we're going to go up 1% to 2%. That math doesn't work on a $120 million school budget. I need to see how that 1% to 2% came about. Now, if it's going to be 5%, that doesn't mean I'm a no vote, but I've got to see some transparency, and if there's alternatives that have been studied, we need to see the alternatives. One of the best teachers I've ever had, Don Kababe, may you rest in peace. The guy changed the course of my life. DECA teacher, probably 30 years in this school system, unbelievable guy. He always had an expression, Olivito, show your work. If the board and the volunteers have done all of this work, which I know you have, show the work. Just post it in daylight. If there's alternatives that have been analyzed, show it. I was convinced that the alternatives were a little bit lacking. So thank you for your time and thank you for all you do. And I thought your comments were great, recognizing the board. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
As long as it's you.
This will be short. Henry Lubinsky from Fanwood again. So I started with a criticism, and I was always taught, if you bring a problem, bring a solution. Public education has always been a mystery to me. You have the best educated group of people working for you, probably outside of any other industry. They all have at a minimum a bachelor's degree. Many have masters. Many are beyond that. A friend of mine educated the educators. I know what kind of education they have. And they are focused on one thing. They're focused on educating students. I don't think you're tapping into those people with regards to solving the crisis that you have right now. We have an enrollment problem, we have a budget problem, we have a fiscal problem, and I am willing to bet, because this always worked for me, if you got enough of your outspoken people in a room and said, here are the parameters, okay? We're going to mourn the loss, we had a problem, but we didn't win, but here are the parameters, and if you had a good facilitator, you might have some really interesting ideas that came out of that group. Tapping into your staff is the best way to solve a problem. I don't know what the culture is here. I hope you do that. If you don't, I hope you consider that, because I will tell you that it had been wildly successful. And he certainly needed those people to tell me when I was being stupid. So something to consider. So not a criticism, but a suggestion of as a way to go forward. I wanted to leave it that way. I'm not completely a curmudgeon.
Thank you.
Good evening again, Melissa Lancico, Scotch Plains. In the course of everybody speaking here this evening, it jumped out to me that we keep mentioning the overcrowding of our schools. I teach also for a living in East Orange, not the wonderful district that I'm happy to live in. You know, I live here, but over there it's a little bit more violent. But I'm hearing the overcrowding, the overcrowding, the overcrowding. So my confusion is this. I live near the Boatcraft area. They tore down Boatcraft, and they put all these wonderful apartment buildings that now brought more students, which is already adding to the overcrowding problem. Then on the south side, in front of Kohl's, there used to be the beautiful garden area which they tore down, and they put more of these apartment complexes, which just added again to the overcrowding issues. So I don't understand how we have overcrowding issues and then we continue, and then also talking about the spacing. We say we don't have spacing to expand, to put modules or whatever other things that we were considering. But we had enough spacing to tear down an entire garden area and put more apartment buildings that are bringing more students, that are adding to the overcrowding in the classroom, as well as adding to the busing problems, which, thank you, Mr. Jones, for trying to clear that up. Wasn't satisfied with it, but I thank you for trying to clear up that issue. But I'm just not getting it. Like, as a teacher, I deal with the overcrowding, I deal with all these things, but yet we keep building more apartment buildings that are bringing more students. And just adding and compiling to the problems that are already existing. We're not handling the issue that's existing, but we're just compiling it and adding to it. So I don't understand where was the thought process in that? I mean, maybe I'm super tired because I just came from my back to school night, so my brain's kind of fried. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but this is just not making sense to me. I don't know. I don't get it. And why bring more students when we have overcrowding problems? I don't know. Hopefully, we're going to figure out in a more productive way, because I don't think that's being very proactive if we're adding to the problem. We got to fix the problem and then, maybe invite more people after the problem's fixed. Food for thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary Morris, Fanwood. I have an engineering background, and quite frankly, trying to figure out how you guys do logistics of districting stuff just gives me a migraine, because I don't even know. That's got to be the most complicated thing ever. So, again, this is not, don't yell at me, but this is just an idea anyway. You have these apartment complexes coming in. Can we call them flex districts so that you can choose what school they go to? Where they live doesn't determine it, you do. They're not paying school taxes. You now decide where they go. So let's say Evergreen has, a downtick in enrollment. You say, Beaucraft, your kids are going to go to Evergreen this year. And that's written into their lease, and that's it. It's not really fair that they're not paying the school taxes. And it's not their fault. They're just moving in because it's a nice community, right? So, and again, to preface this, if it's the affordable housing, no, they will be normally district. I'm talking about the market rate apartments, which is 80% or 85%. You guys choose where they go, and you can now balance the schools without having to redistrict everybody. Just a thought. Just throwing it out there, crowdsourcing, things you think of when you're up all night when they're doing the paving. You know what I'm talking about.
We have one more night.
Oh my gosh, it was like an earthquake. Another thing, at work, this is kind of crazy. I work for a multi-billion-dollar company, and they redid our office. It was great. I'm sitting there, and we don't have assigned desks. I'm literally getting a sunburn because somebody thought it would be great to have these beautiful skylights. Literally, I had a red arm. I had to complain to Human Resources, and they finally came in and tinted it because I complained. And the thought, again, how it relates to air conditioning and everything. Have we looked at actually tinting windows to help alleviate that? You can change the temperature of a room 5 to 10 degrees with tinting a window. That's really cheap, really easy thing to look at doing. It's just, again, innovation. How do we, these are the kind of things that I do around my house. If you saw how some of the things are held together and keep working in my house, that's what I do. And I somehow make it work. I have 2 cars right now that don't have air conditioning. My wife complains like crazy in the hot part of the year, but it's not so much now, which is kind of cool. And
Thank you for your time.
That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Morris.
Hi, how are you? Excuse me. My name is Joe Schiavo, and I live in Scotch Plains. And my wife and I have been living here for 30 years. We raised our children in this community. And I have to tell you, the great schooling that my children got in this school, they went on to fantastic undergraduate colleges because of this school, and then graduate schools. And they're out there doing wonderful things, like we all hope our children do, and because they're our future. So that's one thing I just want to kind of impose on the people here about the great job that you guys have done with that, and it seems to be continuing. I guess a little while back, probably about 5-7 years ago, I was kind of walking around the neighborhood looking and stuff, and I go, well, gee, like, where's all the little kids? You know, and it was sort of a little depressing. But then all of a sudden it was like, you know, when the seasons of the year, you go to winter, to spring, to summer, and boom, it's like, I see all these little kids coming and playing, the development and I'd say the up-development of homes. Let's put those other apartment buildings aside. That's some government thing, regulation. So I'm like, wow, gee, you know, this community is really a great community. We have tons of friends, and so do my children, even to this day, from the area here. So I think it's really great. I guess I wanted to say that in light of this, the bond issue that you all put on the table. So I'm not involved in the school now, and I guess we don't get a lot of information anymore, you know, and we used to be very involved with the kids and their programs. So I guess there's less information. So, and then Dr. Mass, please correct me if I'm saying something incorrect. I thought that the paper that came out about the bond referendum, I thought was actually pretty good. I thought it said, hey, we have this issue. It kind of highlighted some things. But, you know, you really had to come down, talk to them to understand what was going on. We talk about school crowding. When my children were in, this must be about 15 years ago, there was a big thing in the community about they had to put trailers at the middle schools, in the schools. And I remember my back and forth, all the meetings we went to, I'm like, oh my God. But I have to tell you, at the end of the day, we had to put our faith in these people, and you know, we got through it, and it was fine, so that we could have less students in a classroom, and they can get their best education possible. So, you know, kind of reflecting all of that, I'm disappointed in that the community didn't approve the bond. And I say this, and I know it's a lot of money, but I say this because it's our future, right? So what's going to happen is, you know, like, I'm not going to be here 30 years from now, but
Sorry, your time's up. If you want to finish your thought.
okay. You know, though 30 years from now, we want to see those little kids come, and we want them to run around and be happy. And they're only going to be here, and then all this upbuilding is because these people are doing the right thing with the education. The smaller the classrooms are, the better they are, and I'm not a teacher or professional. So, and then the only thing I'd say to the board is that, you know, and I know it's hard, there's a lot of numbers and stuff and back and forth, but
I'm just going to
maybe-
ask you to finish your thought, Mr. Scout.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And, Mr. President, we're at 9:19, which is 15 minutes.
We're at 15?
You're at 15, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to close the second and final public comment section. We're going to move to upcoming scheduled meetings. We have the October 17th Teacher and Staff Tenure Celebration, as well as the regular Public Board meeting. And then we're going to move to the good of the order. Does anybody have anything for the good of the order?
Thank you. So I really just needed to say this and get this out there. We as a board and individual board members have heard and read many accusations of impropriety over the last few months. We are all members of the same community as you are all. We are all volunteers who willingly and mostly joyfully spend hours of our time helping the students and the community. We bring different life perspectives and expertise to the board. Some of us have raised our children to become successful adults, And some of those adults have decided to come back and live in this town. Some of us are still raising their children in our school system. We are all here for the well-being of each and every student in this district as well as the staff. We represent a true cross-section of our communities. To say that we are here for any other purpose is offensive. My hope moving forward is that the community can express their opinions without attacks and accusations. We should all be involved in the community and give each other mutual respect.
Thank you, Ms. Brody. Anyone else for the good of the order? Ms.
I wanted to make two public announcements. One, the candidates' night is October the 8th, if people want to come for that. And I also wanted to mention as an aside that the deadline is coming up for any senior citizens and who are interested in a tax freeze. The deadline is October 31st or November 1st. So for people who are over 65. And I also wanted to just take a minute to thank everybody who worked so hard on this referendum. It didn't pass, but a lot of time into websites, into all the different alternatives that were considered. And so I just wanted to express my appreciation for all that effort.
Thank you, Ms. Bauer. Anyone? Sure.
Autumn starts on Sunday at 9:43 a.m., so enjoy the colors changing in our trees and the nice cool sweater weather that's coming. Thank you.
I just had two things. One thing, if you heard that big list of things that Ms. Sirianni was reading about the curriculum committee, there is nothing more uplifting than those committee meetings. There's just so much wonderful work going on, and as a teacher, as a previous teacher, I know how sacred those summers are, and the fact that our teachers and educators are taking time out of their summers to come in and do all this great work. It's just like, I always leave those meetings with such a big smile on my face. And then secondly, the Marching Band Home Show, like Dr. McGarry said, is this Saturday at 4:30. We are the hosts, so we perform last, but I think we go around 7 something, but if you guys can come out, that'd be awesome. And then, obviously, as always, please be careful at drop-off. It's a zoo out there. They're the K-turds. It's a little crazy, but I think they'll get it soon enough.
Anyone else for the good of the order? Seeing no one, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, good to see you as well.
Well, you survived.
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.